Today, we're happy to welcome on Ant Wright, former Michigan basketball player and Big Ten basketball guru. And it's great to have you on today.
Thanks for having me on, Josh. I appreciate it, man.
All right, so we'll jump right into it. Indiana just had probably their best defensive game of the season, holding Maryland to just 53 points. You've detailed their defensive lapses a lot in film studies. Was that game more of an improvement from Indiana or just Maryland being a poor shooting team?
Honestly, in the last 3 or 4 games, Indiana's ability to their effort's gone way up. I'll say that. They've always been pretty okay positionally. Mackenzie Mbako does have his lapses, but it's been the effort. The effort on that end of the floor is night and day. With Mbako, with Ware. I mean, Mbako, look at his rebounding numbers. I mean, that dude is now itching to get boards. He's itching to get rebounds because, look, if he's not gonna, if he's not gonna just like kind of just hang out on the perimeter, like he has to use his size. He's 6'7", 6'8" on the wing. Like he should have that mismatch almost every single time getting a rebound. That's why his rebounds have been way up. So, and that's effort. Defense is effort. Rebounding is effort. And that's what this team is given.
Yeah, you mentioned Mackenzie Mbako. He's been better defensively, but also the last 2 games he's been much better offensively as well. And you've detailed a lot on how you think he's more of a 4 in college, and that seems to have been completely correct through the first few games. But he's played his best 2 games of his career in the last 2. Do you think that's him just kind of settling into his role?
I think that's kind of back to what I was just talking about with his effort. I think when you are maximizing out your effort on both ends in the little things, scoring is going to come a lot easier to you because you're in the flow of the game. You're not just waiting for the ball. You're not waiting for your turn, right? You've seen those, like, hey, this is my turn. This is my time to shoot the basketball because I haven't got up a shot 9 or 10 times. So that's the biggest thing is that he's incorporating himself to other parts of the game. So scoring is going to come a lot easier. He's not going to have my turn shots because he just got 3 rebounds. He just felt the basketball. So like he's not going to he's not thinking about himself anymore. He's thinking about the team. Hey, what are other ways I can help this team other than shooting the ball? And he's doing that with defense. He's doing that with better communication. He's doing that with just more effort overall on the boards. And I just think that's just helping out the other parts of his game that may have struggled up to this point.
Yeah, and we'll switch over to Michigan for a couple of questions. Just kind of broadly in general for Michigan's season, they started really quickly. They jumped out the gates, 3 straight wins, but they've struggled recently, lost 4 of the last 5. What do you think changed for them?
Their flow is not the same. Teams are really keying in on Doug McDaniel. Doug McDaniel's had free reign. You saw the Oregon game, and like he almost had 40 points in that game, and that kept Michigan in it. But what teams have done, they've done a really good job at. One thing that's been different from the Oregon game to the previous 3 is that the Oregon game was always close. The previous 3, Michigan found themselves down double digits early in the first half. So. It's been the team trying to find each other. Jalen Llewellyn just had his first game back against Oregon. That added a different flair to the team. But overall, man, it's just been a struggle stopping people. And that's what kind of, if you're a Michigan fan, you should be concerned about this Indiana matchup. Because one thing that Indiana does, top 20 in the country coming into a couple days ago, was their 2-point offense. And they are able to score points down there over and over and over and over. Like they do not stop. They don't settle for threes. Like that's just not their game. I expect Malik Renew he probably has a career night if Michigan shows up the way that they have been showing up. Khalil Ware could have a career night. I mean, we're talking about a Michigan team who can score the ball against anybody. They can put up points, but if they have an average shooting night, they're going to lose by 15, 20 points because that's how bad their defense is.
You mentioned Michigan's defense. I'm going to switch it back to a little bit of Indiana's defense. Doug McDaniel is one of, if not maybe the fastest player with the ball in the country. But with Xavier Johnson's injury, if he's not healthy on Tuesday and he doesn't play, do you think there's anyone on Indiana's team that can stay in front of Doug McDaniel?
It's going to be a committee thing. I think Trey Galloway has the quickness and the size to cut him off. But can he do that for 40 minutes is going to be really tough. And they expect him to initiate a lot on the offensive end too. So if he can handle some duties, Gabe Cupps is going to have one of his tougher matchups because he's not dealing with someone who's a bit slower. He's not going to be quicker than Doug, but he can be high IQ, a smart guy, understanding his angles where it's not so much of how quick you are, it's I could beat you to a spot. Right? He has to be extremely smart guarding Doug. Extremely, extremely smart. But if they're able to guard him with one and then basically shadow him with the second defender, then then Michigan becomes a lot easier to contain. They played 8 guys against Oregon. All 8, no, I'll say 7 have the green light. 7 have the green light to shoot the ball. Good shooting team. They could, finish around the basket. But their thing is defensively. If Indiana could find ways to execute, get good shots and make good shots, Indiana's going to be hard team to beat.
And you mentioned that Indiana's not going to force any threes, and that's clear. They only shot 9 against Maryland. Do you think that's a recipe for success long term, or is that something that could be dicey once Big Ten play really gets starting?
The league isn't really good shooting this year. Purdue is up there, Michigan is up there. Iowa can shoot the ball, but if they're going to get hurt, it's going to be in the NCAA tournament. If they're able to continue on this upwards trajectory, continue to get good wins, you can see them in the NCAA tournament. Right now, for me, they're very bubbly. And that's nothing against them. It's just the conference hasn't shown very well in the non-conference. So I'm expecting 6 bids at most 7. And I think there's 5 teams that I believe are going to be locked in. And then 1 or 2 of Northwestern, Iowa, and Indiana in that 6, 7, 8 tier. The 3-pointer is the equalizer. If they lose a slew of games in Big Ten play, it's going to be because they were unable to, hit a deep shot, while another team, if they're hitting 8, 9, 10 threes, they're going to be plus 27, plus 30 just from threes. And it's really hard. We just saw it last night with Nebraska Creighton. I mean, Creighton at one point was plus 36 points from the 3-point line. It doesn't matter who you're playing up against. That's a lot of points to cover up. That's 18 twos, right? That's 18 layups. And that's really hard to make up. They got to get some guys going. I'm not saying that they got to make 12 threes a game, but if they can get to like 5 to 7 a game, they haven't hit more than 4 threes in a game this year. And you're Indiana. Like, you are, when people think of like, hey, which state has the best shooters? They're going to say they're probably from Indiana or Kentucky. Like, that's just what it's going to be. And for an Indiana Hoosier team I believe they have how many 3-point makes this year? It's in like the mid-20s. That's crazy. Through what, 8 games, 7 or 8 games? That's insane. So it's I'm sorry I'm like rambling, but
No, you're good.
I just feel that if they can make 1 or 2 more per game, I think you're going to be able to win a lot more of these 1-possession games. But the bread and butter of this team is going to be the interior. Unfortunately, that's not what wins you games in March. But at the same time, you still got to get to March. Winning the Big Ten championship is not out of play. Is it likely? Probably not. But at the same time, it's still in play. You still got to go out there, execute, and beat the teams in front of you. So it does worry me. It worries me from an NCAA tournament standpoint. They may be able to get by in the Big Ten just a little bit, especially if they're able to slow these games down. Because if you're slowing these games down, making them to those like old school Wisconsin games where you're playing in the 50s, you could see Indiana like win a lot of games that they maybe shouldn't. So, and those are the ones that are going to propel them into better seeding in the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament.
I just got one more question for you, and that's game prediction, Indiana and Michigan. Who you got and by how many?
All right, I got to double check. The game is at Ann Arbor, right?
Yeah.
Because Michigan goes to Iowa next. So at Michigan's going to be tough. I'm still skeptical of their defense, and their defense didn't really get any better against Oregon. They've been lit up all year. I think every team has gotten a piece of them except like Northwood and in the exhibition. Even when they beat Marquette 115, Marquette scored 111. So if Indiana doesn't score, they're in trouble. I'll say that much. They're in trouble if they don't score. But if they're able to get whatever they want to, I could see this game being like 81-76 Indiana. Honestly, I can see a 5-point win in Ann Arbor. Pretty high scoring. What's that? 157 points. That's a lot for a Big Ten game, but yeah, Michigan's not a good defensive team. Like, it's not good. It's not good at all. It's not good. They are one of, I believe they're the worst defending team in the Big Ten when it comes to defensive efficiency. You know those Iowa teams that like people make fun of because just it's that bad. Except they don't have any pros on this team. Like, at least when Iowa was doing it, they were doing it with guys who were like going to be like NBA draft picks. They don't. It's oof. They may have a couple all Big Ten guys, but man, they couldn't stop a sink, bro. Like it is not good. It is not good.
So officially, you got Indiana winning then?
I have Indiana 81-76.
Got it. We will see how that prediction goes, but that does it for the first episode of the second season of Before the Basket this season. Thank you, Ant Wright, so much for joining us today. Indiana will look to start 2-0 in Big Ten Conference play on Tuesday night at 9 p.m. on Peacock. For our production crew of Kelsey Dennehy and Mike Gray, I'm Josh Bodie, and we'll see you next time.